The Rebbe Zilkesund began to Farbrengen this afternoon that regarding Torah it is mentioned, Ki heim chayenu ve'oirech yameinu. The Torah is our source of life, and ve'oirech yameinu in the long days. Rebbe added on, Yom shebitchilosoi hu oroch. A day that right away from its inception, from its beginning, it is a long day. We're talking about that long days, Oirech Yameinu, as we will explain in a minute what it means. And by Torah we have, the Torah is our source of life, and together with it is also Oirech Yameinu, long days, and such long days that right away from the beginning we feel it relates to the long days. When we're talking about Torah, it really has a shaykhs to every Yid. As we say, Torah tziva lonu Moshe, Mayrosha kehilas Yaakov, it's Yerush, it's an inheritance to each and every Yid, and it relates to everyone, to Anoshim, Noshim, Betaf, to men, women, and children. Side those that were present at Matan Torah, side those that lived in generations after Matan Torah, to everyone it relates. Bichlal, we see by people that there are certain things which are done, and they only have an effect for a short period of time. There are other things that are done, that their effect is for much longer. And there are other things that their effect is for yet longer. How strong the effect of the deed is, the effect of the action is, this depends on the chayis, on the enthusiasm that the person has while he's committing this act. When something which is durable, then naturally the chayis that is in it is felt in a much stronger way. It's committed with much more enthusiasm. When something which is less durable, something which will not have an effect for a short time, or an act which does not leave an effect at all, then we can automatically understand that the enthusiasm that the person puts in when he's committing this act is practically zero. In other words, when we're talking about a chayis, there are various levels and various types of chayis which are expressed when certain acts are done. Getting back to va'oirech yameinu, kehem chayenu va'oirech yameinu, so that is teaching, being that we know that in Yonim of Torah are eternal, so that's what it means. Yom shemitchilosoi hu oroch. When we do an act that relates to Torah, we right away begin a very long day. Why? Because what we are doing now will have an effect for an extremely long time. It's something which will remain eternal. So Mamela, the chayis in it is also in a much stronger way than in something which is less effective. When we're talking about various levels of chayis, so there are certain times we do things and we don't even feel what we're doing. The mere fact that a person is alive, the life that we have. And when we wake up in the morning and we recite Maidani, we don't really think into what has happened and that the Rebbe has revived us again, and we just woke up this morning and that is why we should be thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all that. It's something which is done. It's more or less an act of routine. And that's why there are certain, when we come to certain mitzvahs, when we make the bracha of Shechiyonu, we make a bracha, and we say B'Shem HaMalchus with the Rebbe's name, Shechiyonu v'kimonu Shechiyonu. What's the type Shechiyonu? That the Rebbe has given us life, that we are able to come to do this and this mitzvah. So it requires a special hisbaininess, a special, to let ourselves into thinking about it, the fact that Shehechiyonu v'kimonu v'yonu l'zman hazeh. Otherwise, we would bypass it, we would take it for granted. However, there are other things which when we receive the thing, for example, when a child gets something to eat or to drink, which the child really enjoys. So then there's a special hanoah, there's a special chayis which the child is going through when he's getting this thing. The same, the Rebbe is putting it in different terminology, there's a concept of a chayis kloli and a chayis prati. There's the general chayis that we know that we're alive, and this is expressed when we rise in the morning and we are thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by saying Maidani. Then this chayis kloli is turned into details, into pratim. And that is why, as we go on and right after in the morning, after we've woken up, we continue with the brachas. And we thank the Rebbe for the clothing that we have, Malbish Harumim, and all other brachas which we say in Birchas HaShacha. What are all these brachas that we say in Birchas HaShacha? Here we are already realizing the pratim, the details. We are taking apart the chayis prati which the Rebbe has given into us, and we are thankful to him. We are thankful to him for that. And the same is in other inyanim and Torah as well. There are inyanim that are general inyanim, and then we have the detailed inyanim. And when in our parsha, on the Seder which we read today, which is the Seder of Vayechi, here we're discussing about an inyan of Vayechi, Chayus. And it's spelled out in a very clear way to such an extent that this is the name of the Seder, Vayechi. And what do we say? Vayechi Yaakov. Vayechi relates to the source of Chayus. And this source of Chayus gets nimshach, comes down into Yaakov. What is Yaakov? Yud Okev. Yud stands for Getlichkeit. Okev is one's heel. What's the pshat? The heel is the bottom of the body. So we say that the Yud has penetrated into the person, that it has gone into him to such an extent, it has affected him such an extent, that even his Okev, even the bottom of his body, mamish, his heel, is also affected with this Chayis Eliki which is coming through. What happens afterwards? Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim. This great revelation of Chayis comes into Eretz Mitzrayim. What's the pshat Eretz Mitzrayim? So Eretz, we know, Chazal tell us, Lomani Choshmo Eretz. Why is land called Eretz? Sheratzis Olasis Chutzain Koina. Because it had this desire to fulfill the wish of its master. Together with it, Eretz is also Meloshon Rotz, to run. In other words, to really do it with a chayis. What's the taich of Mitzrayim? So here Mitzrayim is taiched in a positive way. There's this tremendous gilui of the Rebishter of Getlichkeit, which is Vayechi. This Vayechi wird nimshach into the Yud, the Getlichkeit, into Okev, it penetrates into the entire person. And then it has to come down into Kalim, the Eretz Mitzrayim. This Eretz, this Rotzen of wanting to do the wish of the master, Lasis Ratzoin Koinoi, does that nimshach werden in Mitzrayim, Meloshem Mitzorem Megvulem. What's the pshat Mitzorem Megvulem limitation? Kalim. The famous expression of Chassidus goes always Oiros Bekalim. There are great revelations, but these revelations have to come into vessel. And this is what this week's Seder brings out. And all of this is done with a desire. What's the pshat? Rotzain, Eretz Meloshen Rotzain, not in a way one being forced to it, but it's done with a geschmack, with a chayis. And here the Torah continues right away. Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim shva'esrei shana. What's the inyan of shva'esrei? Shva'esrei is the inyan of toiv. In other words, this brings out the whole inyan of toiv. And the same thing we have in neshama also. What is bringing out? That's the whole inyan. What he gets up in the morning and he says moidani. So there's also the highest kloli of him waking up. Then he gets involved into the details. He comes into details. We start saying alakai neshama shenasatabi tahiroi. So as it's explained in the Chassidus, tahiroi atav erosa atav yitzalta atav nafachtabi atav meshambra. We're talking about various levels in the neshama. So first of all, the question arises, we're saying alakai neshama shenasatabi tahiroi atav erosa atav yitzalta. So what is asking kind of when before the neshama comes into one's person, then it's not at the level of neshama yet. So when the neshama is prior to the level of tahirahi, it is noch nicht kein neshama. So why do we refer to it as neshama shenasatabi? Later, after it goes through all these levels, that is when it becomes neshama. Also, the Rebbe is asking, what say alakai neshama shenasatabi tahirahi? Then the tefillah goes on, atov erosa. Why every word is accurate? Why is there a necessity to always keep on repeating this ato? Tefillah could have been arranged. Neshama shenasata b'tohirahi v'rosa yitzarta nefachta mishamro b'kirbi. Why is there a need to stress the ata? So Rav is bringing out, because by each of these words, tahira, v'rosa yitzarta, it's all emphasizing a lower level in the neshama. And each time that the neshama is getting lower, it has to come on to a special koyach from the Rebishter that should create the neshama. It's a kind of a bria, a kind of a creation in the neshama itself, how the neshama is going from step to step until the neshama could come down into this world. So that is why we have to emphasize each time Atta, because all of these changes in the neshama are through the Atta. And there's a special koyach habriya that is required from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so that the neshama should be able to go mimadrega lamadrega until the neshama finally sets down into this world. From Vayechi, we come into Parsha Shmos. Ve'elu Shmos b'nei Yisrael, and Shmos goes on, Reuven, Shimon, and as Medrash tells us, Shalishinu Eshmam, that the Shvatim, when they entered Mitzrayim, did not change their names with the same names that they went into the Mitzrayim, with the very same names they came out of Mitzrayim. His expression in Medrash goes, Reuven Shimon Nachse, Reuven Shimon Sauke. Reuven and Shimon went, and Reuven and Shimon came back with the same names as they went, with the same names that they went, the same names that they came back. What's the meaning of Reuven and Shimon? So it's explained in the Chassidus Outland. What is the union of Reuven? Reuven relates to Re'iyah, vision, as opposed to Shimon, which relates to Shmiyah, to hearing. Each one of these levels has advantages, one that the other does not have. On one hand, we know Chassidus always emphasizes the greatness of Re'iyah. When one envisions something, the tremendous impact Re'iyah has. As Chassidus uses the expression, Re'iyah is a hisamtus, it puts whatever one sees, becomes with an emes by the one who is seeing it in a way that it cannot be denied. And at the same time, he sees it all at once. Whatever he's seeing, zeter mitamol, he's seeing it all at once. However, when we're talking about Shmiyah, when he is listening to something, he's getting it in bits. So on the other hand, it's easier to grasp something in Shmiyah than it is in Riyah. Because in Shmiyah, where he's getting it step by step. In other words, it's coming as it is, suitable to the person who is hearing it. As opposed to Riyah, at times, it's all at once. It may be a tool of a great oil for a person to be able to absorb, for a person to be able to swallow. That is why it's brought in Svarim that in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, then it was a time of Re'iyah. And that's why Yidden came to the Beis HaMikdash. When Yidden came to the Beis HaMikdash, there was a concept of seeing, Kishem Sheba Lirois, Karba Lirois, all the emphasis on the Re'iyah. And that is why then Yidden were bringing korbanos. What's the pshat of a korban? So we know there's a Sefer HaBohir where he explains that the entire concept of korban stems from the word kiruv. It creates a closeness between the one who is bringing the korban and the Rebishter to whom he is bringing the korban. When is this closeness in existence? When Yidden are at the level of Re'iyah. However, now we are not at the level of Re'iyah. It's a Sheseinu Lo Yiroinu. We're in Golas, now we are at the level of Shmiyah. Memela, now not only there's not an union of korbanis, but should one want to bring a korban, he's not allowed to. Talking about this union, that where it's mentioned in Sefer HaBohir that the concept of korbanis relates to Moloshim closeness.
Kolben Maloshen Kirov, or mentions Bochatim Chetmimim will say that he never learned the Sefer HaBoyer, Sefer which he never learned. Whatever, and the Rebbe says it's a tiny tzedekah, he has a point, because whatever is needed for a Bochatim Chetmimim to learn was already prepared by the Rabbeim, by Rabbi Seinu Nesienu, and it's all spelled out very clear in Kunteres HaAvodah and in Kunteres HaTfilah. These are Kunteresim which were written by the Rebbe Rashab in the early years of the founding of Tim Chetmimim. There he lays out the complete Avodah of a Tomim. So Mamela, he will say whatever is needed for him he has spelled out very clearly in Kunteres HaAvodah and Kunteres HaTfilah. And there's no mention of Medaf Lorna Sefer HaBoyer. There's an Indian that a Yid has to learn Kol HaTorah Kula. Each and every one of us is obligated to learn the entire Torah. So this he says we are fulfilling, says the Rebbe. This we can fulfill by learning Rambam. As the Rambam himself writes, that he's gathering all of Torah Shebal Peh, and after one has learned Torah Shebiksav, he can right away go ahead and learn the Rambam Sforim, and then he will have a knowledge of the entire Torah. How is this possible? So we know that Rambam abbreviates Revois Moifsai Be'eretz Mitzrayim, multiple of Moifsim in the land of Mitzrayim, because the Rambam lived in Mitzrayim. That's why it's brought in Sforim that this abbreviation relates to the Rambam. The same Rosh Tevis as the name of the Rambam, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Maimon, Moshe ben Maimon Asvardi. So the Rambam was able to accomplish. It was a meifes, it was a nace, but the Rambam was able to put into his sefer the entire Torah. The by learning Rambam, one can have the knowledge of the entire Torah. I was again emphasizing from another angle how the importance of learning Rambam. By learning Rambam, one has a knowledge in the entire Torah. Rebbe continued later in the Farbrengen. This Shabbos is Shabbos Chazak. And Chazak is a very special Shabbos. Each time we finish one of the 5 Chumoshim, there's a Chazak. There are 5 Chumoshim, that's what the word Chumash stands for. Chumash is Maloshen Chomesh. 5. And by each completion of the Sefer, there's a Chazak where everybody in Shul says loudly, Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazik. Why? 3 times, 3 emphasizes, a reminder right away on the 3rd Beis HaMikdash. This is what we're asking from the Rebishter. Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazik, so it's 3. Now what we're asking for now is the Rebishter give us the 3rd Beis HaMikdash. Especially when it's the Chazak on the first Chumash, the Chumash Bereshis. Bereshis begins with Bereshis Bora Elokim es Hashamayim v'Sa'aretz, which actually in this pasuk, the Bria, the creation of the entire universe, is contained in this pasuk. And this is a special sefer which talks about the Ovis who are called the Shorim, the righteous ones, and that is why this sefer is called Sefer HaYosha, and it relates to us not only about the Ovis but also about the Mohis as well. So it's a sefer that has a special shaykhs to every Yid. Sai Anoshim and Sai Noshim. Because it talks about the righteous ones, the Yeshorim of the Ovis and the Yemoris, which this has a shaykhs to every Yid. The Rebbe says that there was a custom, Amol by Yidin, and it's brought in Sforim, that on the Shabbos of Chazak, each time there was a Chazak, the Gabbai of the Shul would give a Kiddush in Shul. The 5th time we have Chazak, Simchas Torah. That's when we have Chosim Torah, so then we are definitely into the spirit of Simchas Torah. But even the other times, the other 4 Chazaks, Bereishis, Shmeis, Vayikra, Bamidbar, it's brought in Svarim, and there was such a minig by Yidden that the Gabbai of the Shul would give a Kiddush, special Kiddush, because it was Shabbos Chazak. Rebbe says, so probably he is blamed for it, that the Kiddush is not given, because he makes a Farbrengen. He makes a Farbrengen, so how can there be times we have to be rested to the Farbrengen and after the Farbrengen to be able to continue with a Malava Malkeh and with other good things. So he's probably at fault. Why? There's no Kiddush because of the Chazak. Shabbos Chazak, there's no Kiddush. The Rebbe says we've already spoken about the importance of being Makil Kehilos b'Shabbos, b'chlal, that every Shabbos should be utilized to congregate and for Inyanim and Torah. And he's sure that there are Inyanim, important Inyanim, which are Negeya, to Talmidei Atmimim, to everyone, which were not discussed in today's Farbrengen. And that is why it would be appropriate that after the Farbrengen of today, also to go on with another Chassidische Farbrengen, which this will be B'Shayches, Chassidim should make a Farbrengen, which this will be B'Shayches to the fact that today is Shabbos Chazak. We'll continue the Sikh and let into the words that the greatness of an Indian of a Rikud Bayidin dance. When a person dances, it elevates him. That's the whole idea of a Rikud. He lifts up his feet, and not only one foot but both feet. So it elevates the entire person. And it's the Indian of Tavshin Nun. Tavshin Nun Heish Nas Nisim, Hoye Tiyesh Nas Nisim. What's the title of a Nes? Nes is Maloshin Ufheim, Maloshin Orum, Nes Allah Hogan, as the Rebbe has emphasized already at many occasions and stressed it today again. The Rebbe concluded the Sikha, but that we should rejoice with a Simchas Torah Dikanigen. And momentarily the Rebbe began the famous Simchas Torah Dikanigen, the Nigen, the Rebbe's father. The Rebbe rose up to dance, got up to dance right away. We all know how the Nigen goes. It was, the Rebbe danced very strongly. Then afterwards the Rebbe called for those that have given a mashke for whatever type of an occasion, given in a mashke hamisameches, a mashke that brings simcha, should come up and announce for whatever occasion they've given the mashke. A gute Woche.